What if I told you that the woman you're chasing right now is the very reason you're losing yourself? That the heartbreak you're drowning in, the betrayal that's still burning in your chest, or the quiet doubt gnawing at you when she pulls away, could have been predicted and prevented 500 years ago? This isn't about her ghosting you. This isn't about her cheating. It's about the fact that you chose her without even realizing how you chose her. And that mistake is the most dangerous mistake a man can make. Machiavelli didn't just write about princes and politics. He understood the raw truth of alliances, the ones that make you rise and the ones that drag you into ruin. He called it fortuna, the force that looks like a blessing, feels like a gift, but will gut you the moment you forget that chaos is her nature. Most men, maybe you, pick women the way boys pick lottery tickets, by how shiny they look in the moment. And then, when that shine fades, when she stops looking at you like you're her world, you feel blindsided. But Machiavelli would have told you, you were never blindsided. You were unprepared. I'm going to show you his brutal rule for choosing women. The rule that 99% of men ignore because it's uncomfortable, unromantic, and forces you to confront the truth. She is not the prize. She is the partner in your war, or she is the opening your enemies will exploit. And if you don't start seeing her that way, you will keep losing in love, in life, and in the war for your own soul. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that fortune, is like a woman. She is unpredictable, volatile, and will always favor the bold over the timid. But there's a deeper reading here that men miss. Fortuna is not just luck. She is the embodiment of chaos wrapped in beauty, the very thing that seduces you into thinking you can control her. When Machiavelli compared Fortuna to a woman, he wasn't insulting women. He was warning men. He understood that feminine power operates differently than masculine power. Men tend to seize control directly, through force or strategy. Women, historically deprived of direct power, learned to master influence, to bend outcomes not by openly confronting, but by redirecting, by seducing, by unsettling the opponent's footing without ever seeming to attack. Fortuna, like the feminine, cannot be possessed. You can only dance with her, and if you don't lead with strength, she will lead you straight into the storm. This is why Machiavelli said, "Fortune is attracted to the audacious." A man who hesitates, who defers his judgment, who seeks approval before action, will be consumed by her. She does not respect weakness. She exploits it. Think about the history of kingdoms brought down not by armies, but by the wrong alliance in the royal bedchamber. Think about Antony, undone not by Caesar's legions, but by his obsession with Cleopatra's intoxicating pull. Fortuna gave him her hand and her favor, but the moment he let desire rule his strategy, she turned, and Rome claimed his life. In the modern world, Fortuna is no less dangerous. She exists in the woman whose beauty blinds you to her instability, in the partner whose charm masks her appetite for drama, in the relationship where passion replaces compatibility and chaos becomes the addiction. Machiavelli's wisdom is clear. You cannot eliminate Fortuna's nature. You must account for it. You don't choose a woman expecting her to be constant. You choose her knowing she will test your frame, challenge your focus, and demand you hold your ground when her storms rise. To ignore this is to give your life over to the tides, and the tides will not care if they drown you. The modern man doesn't live in Machiavelli's world of castles and kingdoms, But his biggest weakness is the same as those rulers who fell. He believes the romance is the reality. Romanticism is intoxicating. It tells you she's the one, that her beauty is a sign of virtue, that your love story is unique, special, untouchable. It's the Hollywood script, the Instagram fairy tale, the music video where lust is framed as destiny. But history and philosophy have no patience for this illusion. Machiavelli was a realist. For him, the world wasn't about how it should be. It was about how it is. And here's the truth. When you lead with romanticism, you don't see the woman in front of you. You see the projection you've created. She becomes an ideal, not a person. You blind yourself to her patterns, her ambitions, her weaknesses, because you're addicted to the feeling she gives you. This is why most men fail. They choose women based on the high of the early connection, the dopamine rush of being desired, the way she mirrors back to them the man they want to believe they are. They confuse compatibility with chemistry, and when the fantasy collides with the truth, when her nature no longer fits the story you wrote, they panic, they cling, or they crumble. Romanticism turns the man into a servant of the feeling. Realism demands he become a master of the choice. A Machiavellian man asks, does this woman strengthen my mission or distract from it? Does she respect my frame when I disagree with her? Will she stand steady in the storm, or is she the storm? Those questions cut through the haze. They strip away the poetry and expose the politics of intimacy. Because, whether you admit it or not, every relationship is political. Two people negotiating power, influence, and loyalty. The modern failure is thinking love makes you immune to betrayal. The Machiavellian truth is that love without realism guarantees it. If you keep choosing based on the fantasy, you will keep losing to the reality, and reality always wins. Machiavelli understood something most modern men never even consider. In politics, the ally you choose can make or break your reign. And for a man, there is no closer political alliance than the woman he commits to. Here's the trap. Too many men don't choose a partner as an ally. They choose her as a savior. They expect her to heal their wounds, fill their emptiness, give them meaning. They hand her the responsibility for their happiness, and in doing so, they hand her the leverage to destroy them. In The Prince, Machiavelli warns leaders not to depend on others for the stability of their rule. A prince who relies too heavily on mercenaries or the favor of another kingdom will fall the moment that support is withdrawn. Replace mercenaries with the woman who validates your worth, and you've got the modern male tragedy in one sentence. The ally in Machiavellian terms is someone whose interests align with yours, whose loyalty strengthens your position, and whose presence increases your stability, not someone who becomes the source of your stability. She stands beside you because you are already standing on your own. Look at history. The power couples who endured weren't built on rescue missions. They were forged on mutual interest. Queen Isabella didn't save King Ferdinand from himself. She partnered with him to unite Spain. Eleanor of Aquitaine didn't heal Henry II's insecurities. She leveraged their union to expand both their influence. These women were political allies, not emotional crutches. Modern men make the mistake of chasing the woman who makes them feel complete, instead of the woman who helps them become more complete in reality. The first drains you when the feeling fades. The second multiplies your capacity when challenges come. Machiavelli's brutal rule is this: never expect a woman to save you from yourself. If you need saving, you're already in no position to choose her wisely. When you are whole, you see clearly. And when you see clearly, you choose the ally, not the illusion. Machiavelli didn't mince words. The wrong alliance can cost you your throne. For the modern man, the wrong woman can cost you far more than money. She can cost you years, your self-respect, your mission, and sometimes your future. The problem is that most men only measure cost in the moment they feel the loss. They count the breakup, the divorce settlement, the drained bank account. But the real cost begins much earlier, in the slow erosion of your frame, your ambition, and your decision-making, long before the final collapse. The wrong woman doesn't always appear as chaos at first. Sometimes she feels like a dream come true. But Machiavelli warns us. The most dangerous alliances are the ones that seem too good to question. When a man falls into the trap of constant validation-seeking, appeasement, or avoidance of conflict, he has already begun to pay the price with his autonomy. History is filled with men who lost everything because they chose wrong. Think of Mark Antony, undone by his entanglement with Cleopatra, not because she was powerless, but because his decisions began serving her image rather than Rome's stability. Or Napoleon, whose obsessive relationship with Josephine clouded his political and strategic judgment in ways that cost him the loyalty of his allies. The hidden cost is this. When your choice of woman destabilizes your mission, you don't just risk the relationship, you risk the respect of everyone who depends on you. Machiavelli would say that a ruler who loses the confidence of his people because of private indulgence or misplaced loyalty will inevitably lose his power. For the man of today, the people are your friends, your network, your colleagues, your reputation. They are watching how you lead your own life, and if your personal alliance undermines your public strength, you will find doors closing, opportunities vanishing, and influence slipping away without even realizing it's connected to her. The brutal truth. Choosing wrong isn't just a bad love story. It's a strategic failure. And in Machiavellian terms, strategic failures are rarely forgiven. Machiavelli believed that every alliance should be tested before it is relied upon, and that includes the woman you choose. The problem is, most modern men test women by how much fun they have together, how physically attracted they are, or how well she makes him feel in the honeymoon stage. That's not a test. That's self-deception. In The Prince, Machiavelli lays out a ruthless principle. A ruler must study his allies in times of both fortune and misfortune. It's easy for someone to look loyal when the sun is shining. The truth comes when the storms arrive. So, what does Machiavelli's test look like for a man choosing a woman? It's not about setting traps or playing games. It's about paying attention to the moments where masks slip. Test her in scarcity. Does she respect you when you're not at your peak? Or does she begin to pull away when the benefits slow down? Test her in conflict. Can she disagree without trying to undermine your authority? Or does she use disagreement to chip away at your confidence? Test her in boredom. Is she committed to the life you're building, or is she addicted to constant novelty and drama? Machiavelli would tell you to look past the charm, the seduction, the perfectly curated moments, and into the pattern of her character. A political alliance isn't based on chemistry. It's based on whether you can trust that the other person's ambitions align with yours over time. The brutal part of this clarity is that it forces you to walk away, even when you're deeply invested, if the test reveals she's not aligned. Modern men fail here because they confuse compatibility with alignment. Compatibility makes you feel good. Alignment makes you stronger. If she can't pass the test in the small things, she will fail you in the big things. And as Machiavelli reminds us, a prince who ignores early warnings will face disaster when the stakes are highest. Choosing with brutal clarity isn't cold-hearted. It's the only way to ensure you don't build your life on a foundation that will crack under pressure. Machiavelli used the word virtù in a way that doesn't translate neatly into modern English. It wasn't virtue in the moral sense. It was strength, mastery, the capacity to shape fortune to your will. For a man, reclaiming virtù in relationships means refusing to lower your standard just to keep a woman, no matter how much you desire her. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men today negotiate away their virtù, one small compromise at a time. They stop enforcing their boundaries to avoid arguments. They swallow their principles to keep her happy. They start living in reaction to her moods rather than in alignment with their mission. By the time they realize it, their standard is gone, replaced by constant adaptation to whatever she demands. Machiavelli's insight is timeless. Fortune favors the bold, not the compliant. The man who maintains his standard attracts women who respect that standard. The man who abandons it may keep a woman's presence, but loses her respect. And without respect, everything else unravels. Reclaiming virtù starts with knowing what you will not compromise. This isn't about rigid arrogance. It's about building a life that is worth protecting. Ask yourself, would you rather be alone than with someone who disrespects you? Is your mission worth more to you than any relationship? Can you walk away from beauty if it comes with betrayal of your principles? These are not theoretical questions. Machiavelli would argue that a prince who cannot walk away from an unworthy alliance is already defeated. When you operate from virtù, you stop chasing validation and start selecting from a position of power. You become immune to the emotional traps of scarcity, the fear that she's the best I'll ever get, because you understand that your worth isn't determined by who chooses you, but by what you choose to uphold. The modern man doesn't need more charm or pickup tactics. He needs virtù. Because in both politics and love, it is better to stand alone with strength than to be surrounded in weakness. Like, share, subscribe. Don't scroll past this. Another man is still drunk in romanticism, and your clarity might be the thing that wakes him up. This isn't content. This is a digital rite of passage.